Hey friends, what's going on? This is Donovan with FretSpot. I have just the coolest bass to share with you today. And as you often hear me say, I don't always do videos for used basses. Generally, just if there's something kind of cool or unique about them, I'll do it. But this one definitely deserves it. This is a 1999 Alembic Series 2. And Alembic, oh my gosh, like I've kind of gone on a deep dive since getting this bass over the last 24 hours because maybe like many of you, I didn't know a whole lot about Alembic, but I was kind of familiar of it being like, kind of the original boutique, handcrafted, hand-carved bass from the 70s, and a lot of our early bass icons played them. But then I haven't had much experience since, and I think, matter of fact, in the, the 14 years, whatever, that I've had FretSpot, I think I've had one Alembic, one of their lower models, traded in years and years ago, but really haven't had much experience since. And had a customer reach out who wanted to trade for an MTD that I had, and he wanted to trade this. And upon looking, I was like, "Oh, it looks beautiful! Like, what the heck, man? Like, I'll just do it just to see it, because I've never got a chance to play one of these." So I've kind of gone on a deep dive, and I figured with this video, even if you're not interested in buying this bass or you're not interested in any of this, I think it's just interesting to know some of the history and the legacy of what's gone on with these historic and bass brands that have had a big influence. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about that, and I'm going to go through all these controls and what makes this thing special. So my understanding of the history of Alembic, and you guys can fill in if I've got something wrong here. This isn't going to be an exhaustive history, just the Cliff Notes history. Is they really didn't get started making basses. What they were really doing was they were customizing basses and starting with electronics. And so they were doing things like brass saddles and brass bridges and stuff like that. And they kind of got started that way. And then they started getting there, in the early pioneering days of electronics and stuff in the 70s, started coming up with their own unique take on a bass, EQ, and electronic system. And that's kind of where it all began. And then from there came like the craftsmanship and the building of the basses. Now, I think like when most people think of Alembic, of course, they think of Stanley Clarke, and they probably think of like Grateful Dead and people like that. But they also think of like, it's one of the highest priced basses that are out there, and kind of always have been. I heard stories of a guy sharing on YouTube that like back in the early 80s when a Fender was $350, like an Alembic was nearly $2,000. And that still is, I mean, they've exceeded that now. I think a new Series 2 is like 40 grand. So they're nuts. And this bass is in nearly mint condition. I would probably not hesitate to really call it mint condition. The only blemish I saw was like a tiny little, not even a dent or ding, but just a blemish on the pointed part of the headstock. But that's kind of how they got that started. Their team built, and they used just beautiful quality woods and workmanship. So let's talk through it. So this particular bass has a Bubinga top and back with maple inserts, ebony fingerboard with oval inlays. It's just gorgeous workmanship, gorgeous qualities of wood. Brass, bridge and saddles and nuts, gold hardware. Downside to this bass is it is ungodly heavy. It's over 12 pounds for a 4-string, which is insane. It's because of all the brass it's all over. There's brass control plates, like it's just nuts. So you want a good strap for it. But I think the things that most people are most fascinated by with the Alembic is the electronic system. So we'll kind of go through that. So with this 4-string here, what you've got is two different single coil pickups with a dummy coil in the middle. This dummy coil allows you to have the spark and brightness of single coils, but without the hum. And then, of course, most people then immediately see this control panel here and be like, what in the world? Are we trying to land on the moon for this thing? Like, what's going on? And I'm not going to lie, it's kind of complicated, but let's talk through it. And once you understand it, it's actually not that bad. So first of all, let's just talk about their general thinking. So this was before an era really of active electronics. So their viewpoint of it was thinking about this more from coming through it like a soundboard and trying to think of it more not of thinking like bass, mid, treble, boost, cut like we see everywhere today, but using more of a filter system. And it's a really unique sound, and it's a sound that when you demo through this filter system and try it, and maybe watch other people that are better players and better accomplished at do this, you will immediately recognize some sounds of like, oh my gosh, that's how that iconic bass sound was gotten. So there's just certain sounds that are just really difficult to get at all today. And this bass is honestly sort of like having two onboard wah pedals, kind of one for each pickup. So let's go here. I'll just quit talking. We'll just go through it. So master volume here, and then with these two controls back here, these are basically independent volumes for each pickup. Independent volume for the neck pickup, independent volume for the bridge pickup. And what that allows you to do is you can blend in the amount that you want through volume of each pickup, and then control your overall volume with the master volume. It's a little complicated, but it's very clever, and it's a unique way to do it. This knob here, this little chicken head knob here, this is just a pickup selector. So all the way up is basically like in standby mode, and then down is going to be the bridge pickup. Next position down is both pickups on, and then the final position is just the neck pickup. So that's what's going on there. And then we'll jump down to these two knobs here. So we're sticking with the round knobs here. These are basically the low pass filters for each pickup. So this is the low pass filter for this pickup, and this knob here is a low pass filter for this pickup. Low pass filter basically just means that it will allow low frequencies through, and any frequency past a certain point, it cuts it off. So low frequencies can pass through, higher frequencies get cut, and it's a sweepable filter. So as you are adjusting this knob, it's changing the amount of frequencies that come through. So it's reducing the highness of frequencies that come through. And then these final two little chicken head knobs, this one's top one here is for the neck pickup. This one's for that pickup. This is the Q control. This is basically a boost control for that frequency. That frequency will add a little bit more of a peak towards the top. So I'll try to just demonstrate this, and I think other people have done this better than I have, but yet here I am. So I shall do it. I shall persevere anyway. So first, we'll play with both pickups on. And this is with the filters off, Q controls basically turned off, just so you can hear what the bass sounds like with both pickups on. Sounds great. So that's full on. Now here I'll turn both of the Q controls. I'm going to just turn them down about a quarter of the way. So what that Q control is doing now is it's removing some of the high frequencies that are allowed to pass through. Now I'll turn it down a little more. That's a really, really great sound. And if you wanted, like say you like that, like, okay, that's close, but I want just a little more treble, then we could roll up the bridge Q control so that we're getting a little less of it. So cool. All right, now if we engage so that was engaging, I think I said Q control, I meant to say the low pass filter. So now if we start to engage the Q controls, it's going to act as like a boost for some of those upper frequencies. So this is the Q control turned halfway up. know, it's got a little more of that kind of quawkiness to it. Here's it all the way up. So you can get a lot of unique sounds out of that. Turn that down just a little bit more. You're getting more of that kind of articulation where you... Yeah, really, it's just really, really slick. So you can dial all that in then based on whatever sound you want. So let's just do just the bridge pickup, because I think that's kind of an iconic sound. This bass just has so many iconic sounds. Here's just the bridge pickup. So, and then let's turn the Q control off. And now we can mess with the filter to get the sound we want. That's a great sound. Now, maybe I want it to be a little less like wolfy sounding. Yeah, man, it's just really, really, really cool. And then we can do just the neck pickup and do the same thing. So that low pass filter. Now with the Q. Yeah, I think it's just amazing. So I could literally sit here all day and try to go through this and do a subpar job of it. But the filter and the cues just give you a unique sound to the bass that honestly you really couldn't get otherwise without maybe a lot of like external recording hardware and stuff like that. It's really unique and different. So I think if you want to have a bass that's kind of a tribute to a legacy of bass craftsmanship, boutique bass history, and all those things, this is definitely worth considering. The Alembic fans, you know, if you are an Alembic fan, like, you know what it is, you're kind of all about that. I think for most of us, we're more familiar and comfortable with that bass mid treble layout. But this, if you're someone who wants something different and to be inspired in a different way, the Alembic definitely does it. As long as you've got a strong enough back to hold this 12 pounds. Anyway, if you're interested in it, head over to FretSpot.com. If you see it up on the website, it's available. If it's not there, it's been sold. So yeah, feel free to check it out there. But let me know your thoughts about this. You a fan of the filter system or not? Let me know.